Okay, we're going to move now to the Mattress Council Annual Report. Howard, did you want to set this up?
Thank you, Ken, and I'll invite Nikki Castagnetto to come up. She's going to give a short presentation on this, but before, go ahead, Nikki, but before you start, I just wanted to mention that as part of the used mattress recycling program, Nick is going to give some background on that, but CalRecycle has to approve or disapprove or conditionally approve the annual report within 60 days of receipt. And we got the report from MRC on June 30th, so at this public meeting is the right place to be making that determination. We've got a number of representatives from MRC out in the audience. I see Chris, Mike, Liz, and Justine, so welcome all. And two things that I wanted to say before Nikki gets going, and this is more about the future. One is that we have a workshop this afternoon. In consultation with MRC, we have to establish statewide recycling goals and a baseline, and so that's the subject of a workshop that we should be able to start on time, 1 o'clock. Everybody can get one sip of water in between. And then secondly, Mattress Recycling Council also is required to submit a proposed budget to us for review and approval annually. And that came in and on June 30th, and we got a revised budget after some back and forth on August 11th. So our plan, I believe, is to bring that next month for approval.
Correct.
Or for consideration. So a couple things beyond today's annual report. With that, I'll turn it over to Nikki, who can give you the recommendation for, pardon?
No show tunes?
No show tunes. You got some mattress tunes in your head?
No, not today.
No series?
We're running out of time, Okay, I'm here to present CalRecycle's staff consideration of the Mattress Recycling Council's 2016 annual report. The MRC's annual report details the progress in implementing the used mattress recovery and recycling program in California and its work to continuously improve the program. Next, I will cover background information, program highlights, staff recommendations, requested changes to the 2016 annual report, and target areas for program improvements. The passage of the California Used Mattress Recovery and Recycling Act, SB 254, and subsequent cleanup legislation, SB 1274, created a mattress recycling program that industry runs through a nonprofit stewardship organization, the Mattress Recycling Council. The program was created to reduce illegal dumping, increase recycling, and reduce public agency costs for end-of-life management of used mattresses. The annual report detailed the MRC's 2016 activities. Some of the highlights include the following. A total of 955,000 units were collected for recycling through the program. MRC established a network of 122 no-cost consumer mattress collection sites. The MRC implemented a public education campaign in order to inform consumers, retailers, producers, and other stakeholders about the program. Not changing. There we go. The MRC accomplished much in the first year of program implementation by working closely with stakeholders, the advisory committee, and the Illegal Dumping Technical Advisory Committee. The MRC and CalRecycle staff have worked cooperatively since prior to the start of the program and meet monthly to discuss program progress, issues, and various items that need attention. MRC staff are always willing to respond to questions and work closely with CalRecycle staff to resolve issues. As such, the MRC submitted an annual report with many noteworthy elements. CalRecycle staff reviewed the annual report and the MRC's overall program implementation and found that the program is generally performing according to the requirements of statute and regulations, has had a successful first year, and is achieving most of the goals in its plan. However, staff conclude that additional information and clarifications are needed as the program continues to evolve and mature. Because the MRC's program is in its early stages of implementation and CalRecycle is currently conducting the state mattress recycling baseline and recycling goal setting process for 2018 in consultation with the MRC, staff will continue to work closely with the MRC and stakeholders to ensure progress toward the statutory goals. Staff recommend the director give conditional approval with full approval contingent upon the MRC adequately addressing the issues laid out in the RFA. Once the report is resubmitted with the following items addressed, staff will post the revised annual report as approved. More details regarding staff's analysis can be found on the request for approval on the public notice webpage. Staff note the evaluation of the information and data presented in the report against the statutory and regulatory components was challenging at times due to some data inaccuracies and inconsistencies, and since much of this information was spread throughout the report instead of being concisely summarized. Staff anticipate these can be readily addressed and will continue to work with MRC so that presentation of program data and information can be more effectively evaluated during the annual report review process. In the annual report, the MRC states that it worked with a company exploring the extent to which post-consumer polyurethane foam can be converted back to its chemical constituents for use in making new products. It also commissioned research to investigate potential uses for mattress materials for which limited recycling options are currently available. For the revised 26 annual report, the MRC should include additional information on research projects, including identifying who is conducting the research, indicating when it will be completed, and providing a summary of any findings or results. The MRC provides information on potential end uses for steel, wire, foam, wood, plastics, and cardboard, but does not adequately identify secondary markets for potential end uses for quilt pad and cotton, felt, shoddy, other fiber categories. The MRC should identify secondary markets and describe what the end uses are for these materials and submit them in the revised 2016 annual report. As I mentioned before, several issues where further progress is needed as the program continues include providing program convenience statewide as well as in low-income communities, exploring alternative approaches to make the consumer incentive more effective, describing source reduction activities that they have undertaken, coordinating with renovators to ensure they are not adversely impacted, and detailing how they plan to encourage entities to participate in the illegal dumping initiative. CalRecycle staff will continue to work closely with the MRC to address the issues outlined in the RFA. Once the revised report is received, staff will confirm the requested changes were adequately incorporated and make a recommendation regarding compliance. Please feel free to contact me or my colleague Heather with any questions regarding the Mattress program. You can find more information on our website about the program, view the comment letters, or sign up for our listserv to stay apprised of current CalRecycle related program activities. We appreciate the time stakeholders took to review the annual report and provide feedback to us, and it was very helpful during the review process. That concludes my staff presentation, and I will open up for questions.
Mike or Chris, do you want to make any comments? Feel free to please come up.
Good morning, Chris Hudgens with the Mattress Recycle Council and also with the International Sleep Products Association, the trade association for the mattress industry that created MRC. Just a couple of comments on some of the staff recommendations. First off, we appreciate the staff working with us, and we have a very good relationship and speak regularly, so it's been very beneficial for us, so we appreciate their feedback. A number of these things are simple fixes that we've already had some discussions about addressing, and we'll continue to do that. A couple items I wanted to just focus on, starting off with program convenience. We've been running this program for a year and a half now. We're in 49 of the 58 counties, and we're continuing to get to all of those. One of the goals, our initial objectives as part of our plan was to be into every county, and we're working to do that. We have run into some challenges, mostly from the municipal side of things in terms of existing contracts with waste providers. Sometimes that is a barrier to entering into our program, and we think over time that will get addressed. But we're also looking at alternatives and other ways to service those counties, not just through the municipal sites. And we've had some conversations actually this morning about that. So we're certainly working on that. We're up to about 145 collection sites in the state. So we've seen some growth here in 2017. But this is an objective we'll continue to report on an annual report. Will come up this afternoon in the recycling goals discussion, but that's something that we're committed to and revisiting each year annually in the annual report. So we're moving forward with that and looking to explore the program. So we're committed to working on that. I wanted to talk about the consumer incentive some. That was in the staff recommendations as well, about expanding where that's available and raising it. It's currently at $3. And we've faced some challenges with that. With the advisory committee, we did a study on kind of what level of funding would move people to turn in their mattresses, and we looked at $10 and $15 and I believe $5. Obviously, the ones that had $15 bounties on them came back pretty quick, but in terms of the fee, or excuse me, the reimbursement at $3, we collected 13% of our units in 2016 from that payment. So that's actually to us at least, a pretty significant driver. And we also run into challenges expanding the program. A lot of folks just aren't equipped or have interest in paying out in cash or check the system. So we're talking to some other entities that may be able to do this, but there are some logistical challenges with that. And the other thing that we have to be careful about is how this impacts renovation, because I know that's a whole another discussion point, which I'll talk about. But if we raise, one of the staff's recommendations was to work more closely with renovators and refurbishers to make sure we're not undermining their practices. If we raise the consumer incentive too far, that gets into units that they may be targeting, because renovators sometimes will not pay anything, but could pay anywhere from $5 to $10 or more dollars. So we have to be careful about that. But speaking of renovation, I do think there's some confusion or misconceptions out there, particularly among stakeholders, of how this works with the law. If you look at the law and the legislative findings, it's very clear that the intent of the legislature is that this chapter will not undermine existing used mattress recycling, resale, refurbishing, or reuse that are in compliance with law. So it is a finding of the legislature that this law is not supposed to undermine renovation or refurbishing. It's not a directive that MRC or at least a regulation or obligation of the MRC, but it's certainly something we're committed to and want to support. So we have been working with renovators. We have some listed on our site. One staff recommendation was adding more renovators as no-cost collection points. We certainly have that invitation out there. A lot of renovators don't actually want to encourage individuals to bring in units, because those are not the units they want. It's more institutional clean units and things like that. So we are committed to doing that, but I think what the law actually says has been a little bit misconstrued, particularly among stakeholders. And then finally, there was a recommendation on education and outreach suggesting that we haven't reached all targeted audiences. We believe we have, so some clarification on what audiences we may be missing. Obviously, outreach is an ongoing thing, and we're continuing to commit to that and continually improving that and expanding that. And so we're certainly happy to report on that, but some clarification there might be helpful. So that's it. If there's any questions for me, and of course, we'll discuss recycling goals and things this afternoon or in 30 minutes.
Yeah, Chris, just could I ask you to clarify one point? You talked about legislative intent, not undermining existing recycling infrastructure. Are you suggesting that the recommendations or the feedback that you would in fact do that?
Well, I think if you look at the consumer incentive and a suggestion of increasing the consumer incentive, that could get into take units from the renovation refurbish market, because they often pay for units. If we raise that incentive too high, that means that we could capture those units instead of them, or cause them to pay higher than what they already are. And I think that I think that was raised in some of the public comments.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure I was understanding your point.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Are there any other comments?
Thank you.
Okay, come on up. While you're coming up, I just want to say that from my perspective, I think this first year has been a great success. I think the program has really done well, and I want to laud all of you for the efforts that you've made and for working with us. I think in terms of the annual report that's subject to today's item, the changes that we're requesting are relatively easy, as you acknowledged, Chris, and I think we look forward to getting that done and approved. These other issues that we've raised, I think, are ones that are ongoing discussions amongst yourselves and with stakeholders and us, and so I think those are worthy of a continued discussion, and then, however that gets vetted out and changed, that would be reflected next year in the annual report that we did this and that and decided this. So those are kind of continuing issues that need to evolve and mature, and so I appreciate that you've already given thought to it. And as you said, we met this morning on some other ways to increase collection sites, and that was an innovative approach. Hopefully we can help you achieve that. So looking forward to seeing the revised annual report and then also future progress.
Make a quick comment. Just on this point, I think we don't run these programs, right? You guys run these programs, and we have certain decision-making points. And if we ran these programs, we would make decisions based on some independent analysis that we would conduct. We'd either hire some consultant to gather data for us, or we would gather the data ourselves, and we would do some analysis. And so I just want to say that with respect to these issues where we're trying to, whether it's the $3 fee and the sensitivity analysis associated whether you're going to cut into the renovators or any other issue, to the extent that you can provide your analysis and your data, it certainly helps us make decisions, because that's what we would do if we ran the program. So I just want to put that out there.
Hi, good morning. Kelly McBee with the environmental group Californians Against Waste. While I'm at the microphone, I just wanted to quickly thank you, George, for those updates on carpet. Appreciate having that information in real time. In regards to the MRC's 2016 annual report, I think conditional approval at this time seems appropriate, and we're sure that the MRC will be able to provide the requested detail in the revised report. What I particularly want to mention, and I know this will be considered at the next monthly meeting, is the 2018 proposed budget. While the department is considering that proposed budget, we hope that you will accept the recommendation of the advisory committee to maintain that $11 fee. We do think that as participation in this program increases, that will naturally increase expenditures, and that the reserves will be brought down to a more prudent level. So thank you for considering that point.
Thank you, Kelly.
Hello, my name is Jordan Wells with the California Product Stewardship Council, and I will be replacing CPSC's Chris Lester on the MRC Advisory Committee. We'd like to thank and congratulate the CalRecycle staff on a thorough analysis of the annual report. We also thank MRC for having the smoothest rollout of any of the stewardship programs, and we look forward to continuing to work with them on the journey of constant improvement all of these programs are on. We agree with the analysis and recommendations made, and to note we particularly agree with the report's lack of addressing source reduction, the need for increased convenience, and we agree with Kelly that in the advisory committee's concerns about the proposed reduction of the consumer fees. We support CalRecycle's conditional approval of the annual report. Thank you.
So if there are no other comments or questions with that, Scott will, will recommend conditional approval. I'm sure you'll take a day or two to look at that. And we'll continue to work with MRC in the, in the request for approval. We try to be very careful to distinguish those things that were specific for revising the annual report, and then other issues that we continue to discuss with everyone involved. And so those are also in that, and those are the convenience and the fee issues and incentive issues. So we look forward to those discussions. So thank you very much. Thanks, Nikki.
And just quick thanks, obviously, for the staff for a very thorough review, and also the MRC for certainly just a positive attitude and working with us, and a very good efforts.